Welcome everybody to Brace for Impact, episode 5. Parks, obviously, with me, and I am Benikage. And Parks, we had the end of really the year almost, except for the ESL or the ESEA seasons, but the end of season 2 of ESL Impact. The LAN finals just concluding yesterday. This recording on the 20th of November. That's Monday. So just concluding yesterday, and a lot to talk about because a lot of interesting results, certainly. But a really good tournament, I thought, overall. And it's kind of like that somber mode, man. You ever get that like
Yeah.
post-con depression or post-LAN depression after you go to a convention or a LAN or something? That's what I feel like. It's like, we don't got impact for the rest of 2022. The year's done.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's done, but they also announced next year's stuff. That's pretty freaking cool. We
Yes,
finally got it
yes,
after sitting here
yeah,
going when.
yeah. I
Um,
try not to take anything like I try to like not count chickens before they hatch because the scene has been so volatile
yeah.
in terms of not just in terms of the amount of events we've had with everything that's going on the last 3 years. And so it's like you try to not take things for granted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, we did a lot of speculating earlier on, but we are getting again two more seasons of it, two more events, and this time around, instead of having Valencia, they're doing it in Katowice. So that's something
Yes.
pretty cool. That's those qualifiers are coming up. Actually, they're going to be mid December, I believe,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that honestly, that's a really good thing because it means there's not much downtime between season 2 and season 3. At the same time, if you're a newer team kind of forming up, getting ready to go, you now have a bit of break between season 2 and season 3 to get ready. I know somebody like special shout out to Ashley Giraffely. She's still in Korea. She wants to come home, and the timing is such that it might just work out where she can get on a team and play for ESL Impact season 3. But she won't be able to do Katowice with a team. But specifically season 3, she might be back in America. That's an example. That's one that I know personally, but like that's there's enough spacing there. I think like, it's a lot better event wise because now you're not going to have a LAN and then immediately another LAN and then a big break before the final when you're getting a LAN season
Yeah.
play, a LAN season play, LAN, which is
I,
nice.
I actually would have liked another event. Like my point was that it should expand. Like we should get a little
Yeah,
bit more events, and we've kind of got the same events, or at least in terms of the number of them. Right? Obviously, they're not the exact same events, but um, I do like that they picked Katowice because Katowice is obviously very historic. There's a loads of Counter Strike history there. There's a lot more that now ESL's open to do. Like it's very possible for them to uh, build up the event more, make a bigger scene out of it. Like, do you know what I mean? Because Katowice is so historic. Whether they want to like put it on this a scenario where like the grand final is on the Sunday for the main Katowice event, but then they push the Impact finals before that instead of a show match, and like there's opportunities to explore
yeah,
for ESL, which I really like. I think that's big. So I really think that's a good decision. Um, and I'm really looking forward to the event too. In terms of Ash specifically, I'm glad you touched on it because I think there's going to be no. I really honestly think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for in terms of teams. I think so. I would love to see her back in competitive play again. Absolutely. Uh, just a really good streamer person, like very fun to talk to, like just one of my all-time favorites. And I go way back. I mean, I commented her in season 30, so like to be able to see her come back into the scene after everything she's done, going over to Korea and whatnot, like I just think it would be great. It'd be a fantastic story for me personally, and I'm
yeah.
sure for her as well, right? But
We are in
it'd
fact
be great.
people.
Yeah,
It's crazy, right?
I was saying it was nice to see things come full circle, but
Yeah.
it is great that we're getting a third and fourth season. I just think that there's the
We could have wished for more, I think.
yeah, and I think the thing is too. I think the format's going to have to be different
Yeah.
because that was the big talk in season 2. Before we get into the talk with what happened in the land this past weekend, that was a big talk with season 2. Is why is there not HLTV coverage? Right? There was of the finals, but the online season there wasn't. Right?
The only
And
parts that got HLTV covered were playoffs.
correct, because they were the big matches. They
Yeah.
determined who made
Yeah.
lands, right? Who made the land, right? So for me, and the question is like these are weekly matchups. Like they're ESL's putting it on a stream. They're putting it on production. Like why is it's getting viewership. Why is it not on HLTV? And HLTV, one of the big reason that I was told was well, the format. And I'm like, oh, because it's double round robin.
Right.
And I'm like, I understand where they're coming from
Yeah.
because they're worried about, like we said, like we had dead rubbers and what's the
Yeah.
integrity of those games, and understanding how deep and unregulated the betting industry in esports is right now because it's very hard to regulate betting companies that come from countries where there is no interest in regulating them.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I understand the point, but at the same time, EPL runs a round robin style tournament. Granted, I don't know if that was online or at LAN. I know during the pandemic obviously it was online,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it was all. I believe it's all at LAN, but
Yeah.
it's still a round robin style, and it's like, well, it can't be the format, right? Because you have the same opportunity for dead rubbers in the EPL.
Yeah.
So the format doesn't make sense. Like blaming the format, whether it's double round robin versus round robin, it doesn't not really matter. It's almost equivalent to the same number of games. ESL Impact's playing 6, EPL's playing I think 5 or 4, I think 5. So
Yeah.
it's like so the format isn't like there has to be something more to that story. Like that has to be a cover for something, at
Yeah.
least in my opinion.
I
So it's like
think
so.
yeah. I don't know. I see a
Getting
bit
back
of
to the original
hesitancy.
point, though, real quick before you jump in. Getting back
Yeah.
to the original point, I think there's the opportunity in season 3 or 4 that we might see the format change because of that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to allude
And
to.
I mean, I don't know. Between season 1 and 2, I enjoyed season 1's one group versus the two groups coming in on season 2.
There were 2 groups in
No, in
each.
season 1 there was just one
Yeah,
group of
no,
8,
there were
was it
two
not?
groups. No, it was 2 groups.
Oh, I'm misremembering things,
It,
I guess then.
the
I
format
was
was exactly the same for season 1 to season 2.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe then they do one huge group and you play each team once. But anyways, that would
I mean,
actually that gives you 7 games instead of
I
6,
mean,
but
but then it opens you up to the same problem that Mountain Dew League had. We all know the problems that Mountain Dew League had, right?
yeah, which were
Match fixing.
yes.
So now you open a door for the same issues.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I definitely agree. There should be some kind of match format changing. At the same token, though, I kind of see why HLTV didn't do it for the first season. They didn't know how big it was going to get. But again, it's an ESL event. It's
yeah,
it's
it's a
not
big
it's not it's a big tournament. It's one of the biggest players in this whole league system, right? They've got ESL Pro League. We saw what happened when Face It tried to make its own league system and they couldn't get the top teams to come in. Well, then all of a sudden, like ESL is the big player beside like Blast with its occasional events and other smaller events that curry tier 1 kind of things. It's one of those things that like they're putting money into this. I feel like there should be some kind of interest from HLTV. So I'm
I agree.
hoping that next year, as a result of them showing, okay, these were the first 2 seasons. We did get numbers on them. You should put them on the website. And it's not only just like a it's an ESL event. It's also these teams don't usually get shown up ever anywhere, but they're going to lands. Like these are big lands that they're going to. These are big
Right.
events that curry a lot of stuff. They should have HLTV pages. I mean, I showed it to Megs earlier, but when she and the rest of her team were going to play Enigma, HLTV's page showed
Yeah.
2 SSB and Megs versus the 5 players from Enigma
Right. And
because
nobody else on
and
the
nobody
team.
else
Right.
because
Right.
ATK didn't have like the other players on the squad. I'm guessing didn't have an HLTV page beforehand, or they just weren't linked with ATK at that point in
Right.
HLTV's database. So
Right.
having league play, and ATK is a bit of a special case because they were a qualifier team, but having at least the seasonal play of some of the groups that gives people HLTV pages, and a lot of these teams do the cash cups bi-weekly. Like there's enough tournaments out there that these teams are playing in that it can warrant it, I think, at
Yeah.
least to have
Even
HLTV
e-
pages.
even to point to your qualifier, because if you go to HSG's page, Hazel's the only one with a picture,
Yeah.
and it's like GFI. First off, has been around for, like she said in the interview, she's been playing Counter Strike for 2 decades, right?
Yeah.
And then you look and go, well, maybe she hasn't played a lot of events that HLTV coverage. If you go back and look, you have the WESG Malaysia tournament, which
Yeah.
was a co-ed tournament.
Yeah.
She's all over those stats, right? I believe they even won the event. Okay. You got the Zowie Davina Championship, which was the qualifier, if you remember, to the DreamHack Valencia Showdown 2019.
Yeah.
They won that event, okay, with some of the same teammates she is now. I believe Ardent was on that team. So where's the where? And so they went to Valencia. They were at Valencia, right? HLTV covered the DreamHack Showdown Valencia. So where's the consistency, right?
Yeah.
Like every time people come up with an argument, I can point to an example of why that's not the case. People go, oh well, the league isn't that big. Like for the online league, it's not enough money. The format's not going back to the format real quick to use that as
Yeah.
an example. Like people go, oh well, the format's not that. I'm like, okay, fine. You have your point about the format. I can present to you a $60,000 land that happened in Brazil that did not use that format, that used GSL groups,
Yeah.
or not GSL groups. It was just a straight double elimination bracket. I'm sorry, 16 double elimination bracket, and that was a $60,000 land,
Yeah.
and only the final got covered. So where's the coverage for that? Do you know what I mean? Like what happened there?
Yeah.
So it's like and it's like, well, maybe HLTV didn't know about it. Okay, but Dust2.br did all sorts of coverage for that tournament. So like it's that's why I say it's a culture problem, right? And so many people disagree with me. Blah 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 blah. They're like, it's not a culture problem. You know, they don't know. Then find somebody who knows. You know what I mean? Like, oh, but it's not a paid website. It's like you have people willing to volunteer to help
Yeah.
provide this information. You know what I mean? Like all of the things that we have in the women's scene, going down to even recent things like Newt's page with
Mhm.
the statistics to the entire femalecs.com website, things like these spawn because the normal actors in the scene who people are willing to even help are not interested in receiving the help.
Yeah. And
Otherwise, we would have had all this built into HLTV already.
yeah, and I mean, it speaks to Liquipedia and how big Liquipedia has always been for any and all events. That as long as they know
Right.
it happened, it's a volunteer thing. They go in, they edit stuff. Like you get a lot of people that end up working for HLTV. A lot of them started doing stuff for Liquipedia, and it was just volunteer work. There's nothing paid in that, but it was we want to have a record of these games because if you don't have a record of the games, and this is something I found when I was doing research on stuff like Impact Intact versus Furia. It was a ESL or sorry, an ESEA Advanced Finals. There are no VODs anymore. The VODs that were linked on Liquipedia are gone because it's been that long. But there are YouTube videos that aren't linked anywhere that I found because I know Intact Esports had a YouTube channel. Um, the stats and everything on those pages is still there because there's links to it. Like those ESA pages could be lost, you know? That's so so having a congregation spot is what makes HLTV so special. It keeps all the records together. You can make a lot of stats off that, like Newt does. Um, so it's big to have an event like that on HLTV, and I
Right.
think we've come to the point where we think it needs to have one. I mean, a lot of the European stuff, like the smaller European stuff, they have HLTV links and they have HLTV stuff, and there needs to, like you said, there needs to be some consistency between all of the
Right.
different groupings just to make sure that we're getting everything out because otherwise your reliance on the number one website for CS kind of goes out the window. Like HLTV is the place to go for news and everything else, unless you're
Right.
region based, and then it's Dust 2, which is an HLTV a subsidiary essentially.
I mean, I don't think they are. I don't think they're related to HLTV.
Yeah, they
I
are.
think
They're
okay.
related to HLTV.
I thought they were independently run. But like
No,
here's a good
Ryan
example, right?
couldn't do
Oh yeah, fair
that.
enough. Here's a really good example, right? And I
Yeah,
just pulled this up randomly on a search. Like I didn't premeditate this. I didn't even know about this tournament.
yeah,
Um, if I was searching for the Valkyris tournament actually that happened in Brazil, right? It was
right.
an online tournament through Faceit.
Okay,
And instead I got directed to this Legions of Valkyries tournament, November 2020, online tournament, Asia Pacific, $1,000. Tyloo female won. Now
okay,
GFI, Hazel, HFFO, we're all on that team, right?
right.
That's the old Tyloo
Yeah,
female lineup. Now, it is an 8-team tournament. The whole bracket is here with and it's only $1,000 for prize pool. Am I saying something like that should be on HLTV? Absolutely not. and I understand why that's not on HLTV. First off, Asia Pacific in general, it's very hard to get the information. Like,
Yeah, it
there's a
is very hard.
lot of anonymity going on in there just because it's a different client, and then obviously the censorship, with
Yeah,
the government of
from that region.
China,
Yeah.
and yeah, exactly. So I understand the difficulty, right? However, my point is, if a website that is entirely volunteer can have somebody, maybe it's not even from Liquipedia, maybe it is just generally somebody who comes in and makes this page, who knows about this tournament, who follows the games, has all the scores listed here, including the vetoes, can make this tournament page. Why can't we get an HLTV for the online season, which is run by the biggest TO in the world?
Yeah.
Like, it makes, like, the it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it just doesn't make sense. There's no coverage. It's just, I don't know. We didn't even mean to talk about HLTV like this, and we just got all the time. But I just that like, until there's actually a willingness from HLTV to accept or want to cover. I think that's the main thing, right? Is to want to cover, to want to change. I'm reading
Yeah.
actually a book about psychology right now, and they mention it. Wanting to change is the first step to actually making change. So until HLTV want to make that change, it's not going to change. And I think that's what I mean when it's a culture problem. Like, there's not a want to change from HLTV, and that therefore this scene is consistently lack coverage. And the last point I'm going to make on this is the reason why I absolutely want to hammer this point home is because exposure is a big thing. Getting more eyes on these tournaments is a big thing. There were people in the chat watching, the HSG CLGs, uh, not even the semifinal, the
Group games, the
decider,
elimination match.
decider,
Yeah.
yeah, the decider best of three. Going, wow, this was really fun to watch because it was an amazing series. Like, Counter Strike does not need to be constantly like it is in the tier one scene, where the tiniest of pixels makes a difference.
Yeah.
I understand, games can be sloppy, games can be crisp, games can be all sorts of chaos. It's that Counter Strike has this natural ability to build that drama, right? And if you want the women's scenes to grow, you have to be able to offer it to more audiences and let that natural building that CS does do the rest of the work, right? And that's how you're going to get more people interested in watching it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, or at least one of the ways, right? So, if HLTV is a huge resource that can bring those eyes to the game, and for them to just completely be just
On the
ignorant,
sidelines,
really.
essentially.
Yeah, ignorant, for lack of a better word. In fact, it's not a lack of, but it's the perfect word. Ignorant to the online season is, I think, doing the game a disservice.
Yeah, and I mean that's going to be something that we'll guess keep an eye on, something that we'll try and I don't know. There's not it's very hard to talk to people in HLTV, I found. Um
Yeah, I have to.
everyone in the casters group has found that to be troubling, considering how many of us can't even get casters perms for games we stream and everything like that. That's again a whole other issue, and it's just HLTV stuff. But getting back to the actual tournament, we'll kind of come back here.
Don't know what issue you're talking about, man.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
nah,
yeah. So over this weekend, we did have the season 2 finals in Yokaping. The 8 teams came in. We had
yep.
ATK, EG, B4, CLG Red, HSG, No Fear 5, Furia, Enigma. Um, and it was good. Honestly, I didn't get to see too much of it because I was sick. Um,
Well, to be fair, too, the first series of each day kicked off at like 2:30 in the morning.
by 5 a.m. Yeah. The
I think it was 2:30 in the morning.
EG versus EG versus Steel G Red was at 5 a.m. in the morning. I woke up at 6 because I thought it was a BO3 and I was like, oh, I can catch the second map. And I looked and I was like, oh, the game's already done.
Yeah, no, they were all the essentially, the initial rounds in the upper bracket, the winners final, were all
All
best
best
of
of
ones.
ones, yeah.
And then anything that would eliminate a team is best of threes. Playoffs were all best of threes. So, which is fine. That format is tried and tested throughout time.
Yeah.
No issue with the format. EG played CLG, and got absolutely hammered. I mean, hammered by CLG. I think it was
Yeah.
16-6
16-6.
on Overpass. And remember, this is a team that is supposedly very good on overpass. This is a team that the Box and EG had this massive rivalry. Overpass was always in that map, Vito. Overtimes were almost always in that
Yeah.
map, period, between those two.
Oh gosh.
So there is a level of competency
Yeah.
that EG have on this map, right? And they got obviously T side is way more difficult on this map. But if you have a level of competency, even if you have a skill difference that I would say CLG and EG have, I would argue EG should be getting 4 rounds on T side, like 4 to 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And okay, you lose the game like a 16-11, a 16-12 or something. 16-6, they got sorry, they got 5 CT side rounds
Yeah.
and they only got 1 T side round. They looked absolutely, they just did not look present in Sweden. And it was true for the
That's
series they played against HSG as well, but
yeah, I
they
was
just
gonna touch on that.
not look
Well, you
uh,
came to the stat. You said
present.
they won 13 rounds across 3 maps.
Correct. And 5 of them were CT side overpass on the old patch,
Yeah.
which is arguably the easiest side of any of the 7 maps. Like,
Uh, they didn't show up. Be all and all of that. They were not
no,
present.
and I would argue they botched the veto against HSG as well.
Yeah, they didn't even pick overpass. Like the one map that they're known for.
No,
No,
did they?
they didn't pick overpass. It got
Oh
banned.
no, they picked Inferno and Mirage, and I was like, and the Ancient was left in, and you and I commentated this team taking CLG. Granted, it was the old lineup, I understand, but taking that team to overtime on Ancient, and I'm like, dude, you're a really good
No,
Ancient team.
that was the
Yes,
sacrifice lineup that did that, didn't it? Wasn't it the sacrifice
yeah,
lineup
right
that did that?
before they got signed,
So
but
then, what is it's the same lineup then? Because it didn't change anything from between sacrifice and EG
no, I meant
Gold.
they played the old CLG lineup on Ancient.
Oh yeah. Okay, okay.
Pre So I was like, okay, I
Different lineup
understand
change.
it's not.
Different lineup change.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, okay, I understand. Like BB and Calday, I would say are improvements over the
Yeah.
old lineup
Well, they
and whatnot.
definitely looked like it, but
Well, I mean, it's you have a case of willingness to play and practice and compete in there as well.
yeah,
Um, you know what I mean? I mean, how much I understand. I'm not saying they weren't unprofessional, but I'm just saying like how much if a player already knows they're transitioning to Valorant, how much practice is that player really going to be putting in on a nightly basis in CS:GO?
yeah,
Right? They're not. They're going to be putting it in Valorant, right? So it's like, okay, I understand you're playing that team. You took that team to Ancient. I understand HSG play Ancient. It is in their map pool.
yeah,
They have pulled it up plenty of times in the Cash Cup finals. Um, but fancy your chances. You know what I mean? Like trust yourself, right? Don't go to Mirage, which is arguably your third or fourth map in your map pool, to try and punish pick HSG, where you could just say, we think we're better on Ancient. Let's take the Ancient. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And so it's like I don't understand.
Talking to a few other people, it seemed like EG lost faith in themselves and didn't go for the overpass or the ancient pick. I can understand the ancient pick if you feel like HSG are gonna be better on it. I can understand that, but overpass, which is typically your bread and butter and probably your most played map, I think the CLG Red game really spooked them, and that kind of led to them just bombing, which it's
I,
really unfortunate. And a lot of that also comes into they did a they had a whole boot camp beforehand, so I thought there would be at least something more than 13
exactly.
rounds.
They had
Like
a fucking boot camp beforehand. Sorry, I swore. There's my one
yeah,
for the
there's your
episode.
one for the episode.
But it's like, how prepared are you, honestly? If you go into the LAN, you lose one game, and you're willing to throw out the whole rule book or the whole book, like the whole week of preparation, like you're willing to
Yeah,
throw that all away because you go, well, maybe we're not that good at over. We just got smashed on it. Uh, you haven't even played the CLG lineup yet on the overpass, I think. Right? Like you hadn't
I
got a
don't know.
chance to play this lineup yet. As far as I remember,
Yeah,
you have a bad game. Like it's HSG are not CLG. Why would you treat them like that? And say, oh, we can't play the overpass. We just got smashed up by a completely different team in a completely different region with a completely different world ranking, like and style of play. Like it just doesn't make sense.
yeah,
They honestly everything about this tournament with EG looked like they were not prepared at all. No matter how then they say they could tell me they boot camped, they could tell me they stratted, they could tell me they when you put in that kind of performance, you were not prepared.
yeah.
You were there to pick up the paycheck. And I hate to say that. And I know better the
That
players. The players probably perform better.
yeah,
I think better of the players. I would never think they would have that attitude. I'm not
yeah.
saying they do.
I
I'm
definitely
just
that
saying the
yeah.
performance mirrored that.
I see where you're coming from on that. It was very much a check in, check out, vacation time kind of thing instead of a
Yeah.
hey, we're here to show up. And I mean, you talk about HSD, we should probably move on to them because they are a bigger
Oh
spot in
yeah.
this. I have a quick stat for you actually that I think you'll find interesting.
Go straight ahead. I love them.
Uh, Nigma. There were two teams
Yeah.
that got a map to double digits against them. One was Furia in the grand finals,
The other was
and the other
HSG
one
in the
was
opening game.
HSG in the opening game, 16-10. The only other
That
team,
was Inferno, correct?
yes, it was
I
Inferno.
believe it was Inferno. Yeah.
So I, we need to come back to them on this because HSG is such a big story coming out of this.
Yeah.
Like all the talks that came through, all the interviews. I know I saw a tweet earlier from Momoa.
Oh, dude, Ramona's interview after the semi or after making the playoffs was
Yeah,
amazing. That's
I haven't
incredible.
even had a chance to watch it fully. I bookmarked it and then kind of left it to the side. I read her. She wrote a Twitter post though. I think you saw that as well, and just thanking
Yeah, I
everybody.
read it on the way home
Yeah,
today,
it
actually.
was so like that's the kind of stuff that we want this league for is like these players that have been doing this for a while or who are kind of new to this, but they just want somewhere to play and show up and feel welcomed, and that genuinely like HSG were the nice story coming out of this all. Like I know for the NA, for us too, the NA doom and gloom, they got put in the same group
I,
and neither of them managed to get out. So
I actually wouldn't read too much in the NA doom and gloom. We could touch that later. But
yeah,
getting back to the point on HSG real quick, I think you're right. I think it's the big feel good story. I think if you read Ramona's post, um, it's really good indication of why this tournament circuit's important.
yeah.
Like it shows you exactly what like the purpose of this whole impact thing is for. Like that it's an amazing story. It's an amazing story. I'll let you give your thoughts on it because I have mine. But
Well, I mean, you look at it. You look at a squad, and we in the preamble before the tournament itself, like we looked at HSG and we said they've done plenty over it. They're dominant in their region, and we don't have much info on them because of the timing of everything and because of how few teams play in those cash cups. But HSG had a few players that have had that pedigree of being at these big international lands before and have done well. And it seems like it happened again where they came through again and they played well and they managed to get to the semifinals, which I don't think anybody coming in expected. They were expecting a competitive play, but they were not expecting um to come back from losing to Nigma to come through the two best of threes to make it into the semifinals. And I don't know how well they did against Furia because they ended up playing Furia.
I think it was like 16-7, 16-8 or
Yeah,
something like
16-7,
that.
16-9. So it wasn't the greatest,
Okay.
but
But
even being there,
you didn't get blown out. You just got beat. Like
yeah,
to me, that's
that's
like
not a
a
blowout.
standard. You just got beat.
Yeah,
Like it's not like you got smoked or anything. It's just you were not the better team on the day. You know. I think the big thing is I did first off like I really underestimated this team. I'll come out and say it. I put them at the bottom of my power rankings because I looked at the side and I mean I mentioned this previously in a previous episode of Brace for Impact, but with a player like Ramona,
yeah,
who uh, played in China for years for Tyler Female, right? Then she goes to Malaysia, forms a fully Malaysian team, right? In Orange Sphinx,
yeah,
wins the Zowie Divina Championship to get over the Chinese team that include Hazel, by the
yeah,
way, and 720. Gets them to the Valencia land, right? Obviously, and you look at the performance of the Valencia land; they were nowhere close. Now this is against old CLG with Jennifer, uh, Emmy, uh, Goose, Yuli, like really, really good
yeah,
CLG, like really phenomenal CLG. And um, like Orange Sphinx got absolutely decimated at the tournament. It was like 16-3, 16-1s, so I'm like, okay. So I look at this team and I go, right, like I understand there's young talent. I know Hazel's a good player. I know HFFO has moments, like, but I'm looking at Ardent and GFI, and I'm like, these these teams that come from Asia are never usually on the same level, right?
yeah.
And it's just the unfortunate, like, I don't know, I guess it's just the zeitgeist of the current game, right? Or state of the game.
Yeah.
But um it's like they put like there was nothing we can take away from their performance here.
No, for
Like
sure.
they played really good Counter Strike. Their retakes were really good. Like that was the thing that impressed me. I was because I watch them in the Cash Cup. If you watch them in the Cash Cup versus these other like Chinese teams and whatnot, like they play very passive on the CT side. They don't lurk for information. Granted, a lot of the maps they play are vertigo, so it's like how you're not really pushing. There's not really a lot of areas of the map you're going to push for information on vertigo
Yeah.
versus an ancient or a mirage or an inferno, specifically where map control is extremely important. So I understand that, but they played very good Counter Strike. They played off each other well, especially Top Banana. Like I look at this team and I'm like, this is a Counter Strike I have not seen an Asian team play in a while,
Yeah.
especially in the women's scene. Like this is so impressive. So I absolutely love the fact that he made the semifinals. I'm a CLG fan at heart. I give the team a lot of stick because I want to see him succeed so well because I know that I've seen what this team is capable of and
Yeah.
how good they can be. Um, but when they were losing, when it was like 14-12, I was like, just- I was rooting for HSG. I was an HSG fan.
you're, you're you're betting on the better horse at the
Well,
score line wise.
it's an amazing story to
Yeah.
see, and we got a really great moment from it. So,
No, we did. For sure we did. Um,
but go ahead.
no, going on to
I was going to
is
make one final
okay.
point.
Go for it. Go for
And
it.
that was you saw the performance they had on Inferno, right, in that opener versus Nigma Galaxy.
Yeah.
Why was it left in the veto versus EG? Why? I understand EG played. It's like their third map. Like I totally, but like
Again, we don't know. We don't know, and they did it, and it happened. You spoke about it, CLG Red though. They're the
mhm.
third team of the four in that group. Uh, you got to be a little disappointed, even with we know the scheduling. I know you've been telling me about the scheduling where Bibian went to the major, so she was gone for a bit. She came back. They had about a week together. Coyote was her. She just came to NA for play,
Yeah,
and that was like what 2 weeks beforehand. So they had less than a week of training
yeah,
before they were then going to the event. So there was not a lot of time to prep in person. They didn't. They like I don't think they boot camped anything serious aside from the four players that came together to LA. Otherwise, BBN was at the major, which go for it. That was a huge thing. Like
yeah. Like I don't begrudge anybody going to a major. Seeing a major in person is sick. It's absolutely an experience everyone
one
should
day
have.
I will eventually. Got to bring him back to NA, and then I can
Yeah,
fly over.
Toronto major would be insane, bro.
I would love a Toronto major. Oh my
I would
goodness.
love a Philadelphia major because there's so much history with
Yeah.
the game in Philadelphia.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
And I mean, there used to be IEM events run out of Philadelphia, believe it
Yeah.
or not, like way back in the day. Plus, you have obviously Philadelphia, was the largest amateur land,
Yeah.
was born and created in Philadelphia. So I'm like, there's so much Counter Strike history in Philadelphia, and it just completely misses everybody's radar now at the tier one scene. And I'm like, why, guys?
Yeah.
This city would go nuts for a tournament.
No. So they go to the event and they definitely they take that win over EG. That's something we see. I get them against every NA team. They have not lost a map to an NA team. And then they go 2-1 with HSG. And like we said, HSG played really well.
Yeah.
Dust 2 overpass Mirage. Overpass. CLG Red, 16-7.
CLG Red won that, right?
CLG Red won that overpass map,
Yeah, they're a good
16-7.
overpass team now.
They're a good overpass team. Dust 2, 16-14. And Mirage
I,
was the
and
decider.
the 16-14, by the way, like HSG, I think I want to say Dust 2 is like their third map in the pool.
Yeah.
Like they play actually HSG's map pool's four maps really: Inferno, Dust 2, Vertigo, and Ancient. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like I understand, and, and it's one of these things where like you could always pose the question: how much time do you put into Dust 2 knowing you're coming off this patch?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I
It was this is
okay.
the last event with Dust 2
Right, so
in
it's
it,
like how,
basically.
but knowing that you have the ESCA league
Yeah.
and everything, like how much time are you really prepping on Dust 2, knowing that it's going out of the map pool? Like
Not
you don't really want to put that much time into
I
it.
don't think that much. So
No,
yeah,
so
CLG go out in the elimination in the decider. They did face off against Nigma in the winners and they got blown 16-3.
oh yeah, Oh
So
yeah.
that's to be expected though, because Nigma is Nigma, and
Not 16-3.
not 16-3,
Uh,
but the expectation is Nigma to win that for sure.
oh yeah,
I,
100%.
I
Yeah.
I look at that and they played Overpass, which again, a strong map for CLG Red.
It's a
16-3.
really strong map for Nick Galaxy though.
Yeah, it is rough. 13-2. 13-2 was the first half because Nigma had that CT side. That is rough. I mean,
Yeah.
like Bibian was a -7. Coyote was a -9.
Yeah. Second best player at the tournament, by the way, BBon.
Yeah. Well, that's why I
And
mentioned her
and you
name.
put her at -7. Like that's like
That's
that
not me
like
putting
that,
her at
that
-7. That's her putting her at
no, I know.
-7.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm saying, you're Enigma, and you just put the second best player at the tournament on -7.
Yeah,
Like
it
that's
is.
pretty.
That's a
But
rough.
it promotes a problem with CLG that I've been saying for the longest time, that CLG is going to always rebuke if they see this pod. Um, which BBon's commented on the pod before, so they might see this pod. But
Yeah,
Mirage is not a map they are good at. They play it all the time. They play it in ESCA. You go back to last season, you go back to this season. What is the last season? Right, the first half of the season, they were like a 3-3 team, maybe 4-3 or something like that.
yeah.
What were all their losses on Mirage?
Mirage.
They were close games, but they lost them all, or they lost the majority of them.
That was a
You come,
consistent thing with when BBon came in. I remember you mentioning to me whenever BBon, like BBon on Mirage, Mirage for CLG Red was the BBon show. That was your
yeah,
wording to me pretty much exactly because she
yeah,
was the one who was dropping 20, 30 kills and they'd still struggle because nobody
yeah,
else was able to step up. And that, it, it,
yeah,
I can understand wanting to play it because the familiarity of Mirage. You understand how to play the map. The problem is it's not working for you. And
yeah,
at what point do you look at that and go, this is a sunk cost fallacy, we need to move on?
yeah. If you go back to last season, I want to say, right?
Yeah,
I think CLG started like 2-2,
yeah,
I think, or something like that, or it might have been 3-1. Something like that. But they played a lot of Mirage at the start of the season.
yeah,
BBon had 4 straight games with 30 kills or more to open the season. Like insane, absolutely
yeah. A great
insane.
way to announce yourself, 2NA.
Oh, 100%. But it's like they didn't win those games. Like they didn't go 4-0 in those games.
Yeah,
And it's like, come on. Like okay, maybe you lose one of those games, but it's like, but then you show up at LAN here, right? Like you played, like you go back to season 1. I understand old lineup, but you go back to season 1, they lose Mirage to Furia, right? And they get knocked out in the semifinals. You go to Valencia, they play Mirage there. They lose that. You come here to season 2. They play Mirage. They lose that versus HSG. Like you cannot force something that cannot be forced. And
yeah,
Mirage is not a map that they can win on. They cannot win. They look really good on Ancient. They look. I like their Ancient. How it's developing. I like, obviously Overpass is coming into their game more. They're decent on Inferno. Dust 2 is a little bit of a weak point, obviously, but it's going out of the map pool anyway. You have an opportunity to pick up a new map, whether you want to pick up, you know, uh, Vertigo, or you want, which they do play actually a pretty good Vertigo. Or you want to pick up something else like an Anubis. Not saying you have to, but the point is you could replace the Dust 2 with another map. So
yeah.
there's opportunities for this team. Like they play good on some of these maps. Mirage is a map, but results matter. Like what do I say all the time? You've got to win when it matters most.
Yeah.
They don't win on Mirage, man. They cannot do it.
So I don't
But why
know.
pick the map? Like
I mean,
it just
the
doesn't
two
make
the two
sense.
remaining in the veto were Ancient and Vertigo, which
Pick the Ancient.
I don't. I guess
Pick Vertigo.
I would not pick Vertigo against HSG if they play
I
it
would
that
pick
much.
Vertigo against
If they play
HSG. They're
it that
so,
much,
but yes, but they're so passive on that map,
I don't know how
which
that
means
plays into the system of CLG though.
because okay, it plays in the system of CLGs that they don't. HSG do not like to play for mid control
Yeah,
on vertical. Mid is the most underrated point of that map. Like mid opens up B, it opens up flanks to A. Like you mid is so, like, it's so hard to get if you're the T's. Like
yeah.
going, like that's why we see a lot of the A bomb site, right? Because going up B stairs without mid control
It's
is like a suicide
yeah, it's
dive,
impossible.
right? It's very, very hard. And getting mid control in general is a lot harder than just throwing the smoke ball down A and getting a plant and trying to defend the plant, right? So that's why it's the A take simulator. But you have a team that's willing to give it to you. Like, and here's the crazy thing about this is they play it so much, you have so much material
Yeah.
to demo review
Yeah.
off of,
That's
right?
you know what,
You
that's true.
don't on the Mirage versus and it's a map that you consistently lose. So why would you not counter strat HSG on Vertigo?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's my opinion.
That's yeah. I mean, it is what it is. CLG Red, they they lost. They went 2-1. There's holes. Like you said, there's holes. There's
Yeah.
also
And
bits
I mean
of
they need more time as well.
that
So
was my next point is they need time. Like they did not have a lot going into this. And I mean, the two most tenured people on this team right now are Kelsey and Goosebreeder. That should speak to
yeah.
there has not been a lot of time.
Yeah. Kelsey I think was an addition just last year as well.
Yeah, she's
So
not been on the team long. It's
right.
one of those things, right, where they just Goosebreeder is the last of the old guard coming through now, teaching her little swanlings, you know, how to navigate these big lands and these big pressure situations, and that's one of those things that like she mentioned as an IGL, she's still learning how to deal with high pressure situations and
Right.
all that. It's a learning experience for all of them because it's a new role for everybody basically. It is one of those things. So I'm excited to see where CLG Red go.
Yeah,
I
me
wish
too.
they had made it to the semifinals, but
I did too, but like I said,
the
when the story
storyline, the
was unfolding
storyline,
with HSG,
yeah,
I was like, all right, like come on.
the storyline is there
But
that I'm okay
but
with.
going into the tournament, I was with you. I'm like, I would have liked to see him make this.
Yeah.
I thought it was possible too. I mean, it was a close series. It was very possible.
So then the last team we're gonna have to scoot a bit here. The last team was Nigma Galaxy from this group, cruised through.
Right.
Um, well 16-10. So and then a 16-3, 2-0'd No Fear, and then 2-0'd Furia. But it was a close final. So
It
that's
was a close
something.
final. The ancient comeback was looking really strong
Yeah.
actually from Furia.
Well, it was a 10-5 and then a 9-6. So Furia's T side is something to be aware of, I guess,
Yeah,
when you
but
come to Ancient.
I think at one point it was like 12-5 or something like
Yeah.
that. It was a pretty good comeback from Furia. And then they just lost steam at the end. Like they were up 14-12
Yeah.
at one point. So I mean, what can you say about Nigma that hasn't already been said? Like
They won
it
every single event this year. I
yep.
don't think they even lost a map this year. No, they lost one. They lost one.
Furia
Yeah.
in season 1 in the
Furia, and then they
final.
lost one in league play as well.
To No Fear 5?
Something like that. It was one
I
of the
think to
teams.
No
I
Fear
think it
5.
was when they were missing one
Uh
of their players. They were missing one of their players
yeah, it might
due
have
to
been No Fear
injury.
5 or it might have been MVP, but yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
So
Yeah.
2 maps over the entire year though. Like
Yeah.
that is insane. And
Yeah.
what can't you say about these? Like, I think like they're going to be the MVPs worldwide for the female scene.
Yeah.
They're the MVP team. I don't know which of the like 3 stars on that team you point at and go, this is the MVP player. This is
Yeah.
the female equivalent to the simple in your HLTV
Right.
top 20.
Yeah.
So they're just I don't. How much
I mean,
praise can you heap on them at this point that they don't
it,
already have?
yeah, and every player works so uniquely within that roster. Like
Yeah,
it's so hard. Like you can point in the stats and say Vilk and Anna dominate this roster, but like it doesn't injustice to like the information plays that 23 will push for on the overpass. Like you saw how like they were so good at using that information on the overpass
yeah,
against CLG. Like CLG were just uh the constant push for information. Like I always say it's very hard to play against good measured aggression from the CTs
yeah.
on overpass, which makes it so difficult. Aside from a lot of the choke points, like trying to get out monster to B if someone's holding the angles. But it's like um, the constant push for information by Nigma, and then using that to really position into the bomb site, like it just opened up so many possibilities for them. They were so good. They were just incredible. So, like I said, you can look at stats and say this player
Yeah.
better, but to me, like each person plays such a well-defined role. Vilka's got that team absolutely dialed in, and
Like,
everybody do, and a lot of it goes to their coach too. I believe JXR. I want to say,
yeah.
he is he does some incredible work.
So,
Incredible work.
so I pulled up the ESL Impact stats that Newt put together.
Mhm.
In the top 8, there are 4 of them,
Yeah,
and in the
I
top
think
9, there are 5. So,
I think the one I saw from Milk, I'm sorry, from femalecs.com,
yeah.
had all 5 of them in it actually.
Yeah. In the top,
Oh.
like, they're all in the top 10. Every single one of
Yeah,
them are
he
top
does the
10.
top 10, so
Yeah.
yeah. So
So,
I'm actually pulling it up right now. Give me
yeah,
one second.
it's again, what can you say at this point that hasn't already been said in terms of how dominant they've been this year? And
Yeah, all 5 are in the top 10, by the way. Yeah.
in a way, it feels like they are taking the torch of the old CLG Red, where CLG Red would show up to an event and they would win, and there wasn't much of a
Yeah,
contest.
yeah.
So,
It's like the old it's like Giuliano's old team when they played CS.
yeah, yeah. No, even
That's
back
what
then
they
when
were
there
like.
was Bestictas and what else were they? They were
Uh, we run this place, and then they
yeah.
were Originum. Yeah.
There's a
So
few. Giuliano, by the way, I believe won an
they
event.
won the Valorant. They
Yeah, they
won the
won a
Valorant
Valorant, and she
championship.
became one of
They're
the
the first.
first to win.
Giuliano and Mimi, and I think one other. I can't remember who the third player is on
The
that team.
first players to win a large event in both CS and
A
Valorant,
world title in
and a
both
world
both
title.
events.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
world
West
title.
WASG,
Yep, yep.
which is
So
crazy, right?
yeah,
That just shows again the impact coming through on all these things. Um. So yeah, that's Enigma. We still have the entire other side of this bracket
let's
to
go
talk
through it.
about.
We can plow through it. I don't think there's as much to talk about Group B. If I'm
No.
honest,
Well, there was ATK. They showed up. They were there.
they showed a lot better. They were a lot like
I think if you
I
look
looked at
between
them
the
like
two teams of EG and ATK, you liked ATK more than EG.
they won more rounds. I think they won like one more
That
round
is
or two more
toxic.
rounds.
That is it's not that
That
toxic.
is actually kind of tough.
That is
But no, but the point is, I looked at them and I put them in the same bracket as HSG, right? Well, at the
yeah.
start of the tournament, thought, okay, these teams are gonna see what they can do, but you don't weigh expectations against them, right? But
ATK won, I believe, 16 rounds. They won enough to say that they won a map.
they won 3 more rounds, yeah.
They won 3 more rounds,
So
which is the equivalent to winning a map over 3 maps, which again isn't good, but it's
look,
ah,
but here's the thing, I didn't weigh the expectations. It's a
yeah,
new lineup than what we saw at season one,
yeah.
and they were in some of those games. Like the first game they had to play was against I think Fury, correct?
B4. They played
Oh,
B4.
B4
Yeah.
in the opening, and like the first half looked like it was going to be close. Like I think at one point it was like 5-4 or something. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, they won
okay,
5 rounds.
ATK,
They won five
yeah,
rounds, and then they just kind of got stopped
right.
after that point.
So a B4 make an adjustment.
Yeah.
Uger's a very good in-game leader.
Oh my goodness.
Uh,
Not just an
so
in-game leader, a good fragger as well. Plus 12 on that map.
yes, yes, very good performance from her this land. But um, you know, but even at that loss, which I think was on Inferno, that first game, I
Yep, it
think
was
it was.
Inferno. Yep.
And I'm like, okay, this looks a lot better than what we saw at Dallas because I think at Dallas they were just absolutely decimated at Dallas.
Yeah.
Well, they played the old Please Send Help lineup, and that series was kind of close, but Please Send Help.
At least Sinop
But
won that.
yeah, but it was like the Please Send Help was still like a pug team by all sense of stretch of the
Yeah, but
imagination
they
by then,
I
right?
don't know.
This was before they had Milk. They didn't have Milk, remember?
They didn't
At
have Milk, but
that
they had
time.
Senna. Senna was still that experienced player that they had leading the team on that. So
Yeah,
there
of
was
course.
I don't know. I look at comparing the two teams is weird. I don't know. ATK I think showed they didn't show up necessarily scoreboard wise, but they like you said they were competitive, and that kind of drove forward the play. And again, dealing with outside factors here, they've been dealing with load shedding, been dealing with other
Yeah,
factors of trying to get to even
yeah,
get to this land like that. That speaks to them being able to be there and take care of at
yeah,
least try a little bit, which was
yeah.
really nice to see. Um, I
I mean,
hated that
they're
they
not a
had to
bad
play.
team, but when you put them up against B4 and Fury, like
They're
they're gonna be
they're
outclassed.
outclassed. It is
Yeah.
what it is. The one thing I have to say that I hate the most about this was they played their elimination match day one. They had a 1 day tournament.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's the only. I do agree with you. Like
That is the
it's
one thing that I'm gonna take from
yeah.
this tournament. That is a big detractor for me. They played all these. They did all the BO1s day one. Perfect. You did the uppers. You did the lowers. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then you get this random BO3 at the end of the day.
And it's tough because it means that day two if you push it to day two, you got to do 4 best of 3s on day two.
Yeah, but
That's a long day.
doing
Like
it
it's
in
already a long day, but that's a
yeah,
long day.
but doing it, I don't know. You do it.
But then yeah, it's like we had the same problem in season one. I think Please Send Help. I think the same thing happened in season one. I think Mind Freak it
I
was.
think it was Mind
Mind
Freak because
Yeah,
Mind
Mind
Freak
Freak
and
played their opening map and then they had a 9-hour break between their second best of three.
like it
Or between the best of three, I should
it
say.
it
So
it, it just it's disgusting. You know,
yeah.
I
Something has to be done with scheduling. Like either move another best of three into the first day and do both elimination games.
yeah.
And I don't know. It's tough. Like the format is great, but like at some point there's going to be a really long day, and I agree. It's kind of weird to break up the elimination games across the days. Like it just feels odd. But at
Again,
the same time, like what can you do? Like if you move a second elimination into the first day, right? Second elimination
yeah,
best of three, and make just day one a really long day. You just bite the bullet there.
yeah.
Is it something where you can pull the semis into day two?
But then you come to the same problem again. Well, actually, this brings up a different issue now. Is your day 3, you have one match, so you have to fill the
Right,
rest of
but
the venue time.
then now you can pair it with a main event going on at something like a DreamHack Dallas, and the
Yeah,
ladies are on the big stage, and there's no show match or some whatever cockamamie stuff you got.
yeah.
You bring
There's potential
you
there.
allow the audience to come in early if they want, and they're on the big stage. They're not randomly in the middle of the floor. Like my point is,
There's inclusion
maybe there's an
availabilities here.
opportunity to do something
Yeah.
else. It's very difficult, but maybe there's an opportunity to do something else.
So yeah, I look at that and I go, I wish that elimination match was somewhere else. Maybe schedule changing, yada yada yada. Anyways, ATK were out day 1, kind of sad.
Yeah,
But
very sad.
they were there. They showed up. They
They show a lot more than previously, I thought.
Yeah, they showed a lot more than previous. So that's another big thing is they they were there to compete and they tried their best. And that is at the end of the day what you can expect from a team that is coming through an open qualifier to make it to
Yeah,
the event.
and they showed flashes of good Counter Strike.
Yeah. So then next team on the list we should probably touch on is B4FE, one of the 2 Brazilian teams.
Yeah, this is a really disappointing tournament for them. But the it's like they're playing better competition. Like Biggie
Yeah.
Keepa was the European team in the first season, and it's like now and Biggie Keepa really struggled
Yes.
online.
Yeah.
And remember going that whole group went 2-4 practically, except for whoever was top. I can't remember. But Nabi, I think, was the other one.
Yeah.
But uh, No Fear 5 is really good.
Yes.
Like and when they brought back in Fatal, I'm like, this Fatal is a very underrated fragger. Always has been. Always has been. And I remember watching her in the Ambush Cups in 2020 going, this player's pretty good. Like she's
Yeah.
a pretty good rifler. And I'm a big fan of Fatals. And she proved that she still got it this tournament. Like that big all the team changes and being away from the game for a little bit, like it has not left her. She really had a good tournament, and she really completed what No Fear 5 were looking for. So I think B4, yes, it's disappointing, but given the competition that they were against, I can understand why they went out in fifth, sixth. Like
So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's a learning lesson for them, I guess, because
yeah,
this is their first LAN. Last time it was MIBR. It's interesting to see other Brazilian teams kind of flowing in and out. I like that. I like that there's still a bit of like chip and chase in terms
yeah,
of who's
same
the
in the
number
EU,
2.
right?
Yeah.
Biggie
Well, no
keeping
fear
now No
5.
Fear
I guess
5.
we
Yeah,
can bring them in next. I mean, they had an upset to get here, and they made playoffs, which is really cool. They did they kind of got dumpstered by Enigma. It's a 16-5 and a 16-8. 16-8 better. 16-5.
it's Enigma though, man.
It's Enigma again. Enigma. You played them in Well, this is the thing is this is No Fear 5 was Group A's 2, right?
Yeah,
Group A, they were A2, so they played
yep,
Enigma during the season, which is
yep.
crazy to think about. Um, and I mean, they beat. Sorry, no, they got dumpstered by Furia 16-3. They won against BF before, sorry, and then they made playoffs and they were there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of listen. It's a huge thing. I want to say this is a huge thing that these Russian players were able to go. That they were allowed to go to
Right. Yeah.
Sweden.
No.
That's a huge
100%.
underlying story to all of this. Is the stresses
Yes.
of this war that's continually going on and the issues that the Russian teams are having and all these other problems that
And
they should not have to worry about are
right.
an extra stress on them to even get
Right.
permission to come into these things.
And this time they had plenty of time to get the visas, and
Oh yes, they did. I will. We won't let Gamergirl
which
live that
which
down.
which by the way, just real quick, because
Yeah,
I said we were going to mention the pregame. I'm not going to go deep into this,
yeah,
but I look. It's not a mea culpa, but fair play to Gamer Girl because they ran, and I understood why they selected. By the way, the story of why they had to select the Sao Paulo event to run the same weekend as ESL Impact
yeah,
is because CB LOL, which runs the LOL event,
yeah.
which runs all the leagues down there,
Right,
partnered with Gamergirl to run the league event, and that was the main event. Like the league event had
right.
4 teams,
Yeah,
The CS only had 2, so
yeah,
they couldn't reschedule. So it was because of the LoL event, which is like fair play. But the tournament down there and the tournament in Madrid actually they were fine. They went off without problems. They were. I mean, they had tech issues. Day one, like or
yeah.
at the start of the tournament, it's like everybody does. But fair play to them. They managed to work with the Russians to get them into Spain, and they ran 2 lands in back-to-back weekends without issue. So you know what? Fair play, gamer girl. You did well. You did very well.
Yeah, I mean that's really good. I'm I'm proud that they actually got good events in.
Yeah,
I'm proud that we didn't have to say, look at this. You see, it's a bad car, and it continues to be a bad car. They,
yeah,
they gave it a go, and it worked, and thank goodness it finally something works, and we
yeah,
can eat our words a little bit in terms of them not running poor events all the time. I'm
yeah.
happy to eat my words on that. Those are words
Me
that I
too. It
want to
makes
be
me look
eaten.
forward to the next gamer girl event. I'm
Yeah.
actually like, yo, when's the? I'm ready for the next one.
It's good. And um yeah, so that I mean, No Fear 5 in the playoffs, they made that. The last team that we
Right.
can talk about there is Furia,
Yeah, yeah.
who made the finals and at this
Very
point
good team.
are the number 2 in the world.
Yeah, they're a solid number 2
They
as
are the
well.
solid number 2.
Uh, there was a really good point made on the broadcast, and it,
Yeah.
it was that if Olga and like Ka or Olga's kind of like the star fragger, obviously,
Yeah.
right? Olga's an amazing player. She's fantastic.
Yes.
But Ka has moments where she steps up and she performs and but there's not a lot from the rest of the team. And I understand that there's somebody's gonna have to play support and all
Yeah.
this other stuff, blah 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 blah. But and Gabi actually had pretty good stats,
Yeah.
but it's the fact that there's just a little piece
Missing.
missing when
Yeah.
it comes to the firepower. Like I don't know what it is. So I think it's time if you're Fury you make a change. I think it is. I think there's a few teams that need to make a change coming out of the land. I think Fury is one of them.
Yeah.
I don't think B4 is one. I think they're good enough. Like they just need more time with Poppins.
I think you look
Really.
at a lot of the extra teams coming through that didn't really expect to make the LAN. I think you look at them and you go, well, we're just gonna stick with this. Like HSG are gonna stick with their lineup. I don't expect them to
I would
change.
make no changes to
ATK
that
aren't
lineup.
gonna change.
I would make no changes to
CLG
that
Red
lineup
aren't gonna
either.
change. They
No
already
change.
made their changes.
I actually would make a change
You
to
would?
CLG.
Who would
I
you?
would make a change. Oh, don't. You're really gonna put
No,
me
I'm
on the
not gonna do
spot?
that. I'm
I'll
not doing
answer.
that. I'm
I'll
not. No,
answer.
no,
You
no,
want
no.
to do it? I'll
No, we're
answer.
not gonna do that.
I think they swapped too many players. I think bringing in Callie was a great addition. I think bringing in Bibion's a great addition. I think Mads will turn into a great player.
So I
I
think we
think
give time on that though. If you've made the
yes,
switches.
and you're right, and maybe you don't make the change, but I think looking back, and I understand it was her decision to step away from the game, but I think the loss of Yuli hasn't been
Yeah.
accounted for yet. I think that's the problem. So,
Yeah.
um, and maybe Madge just needs more time. She'll fill the role, and CLG will absolutely steamroll everybody again. And if that's the case, then fair play. But I think that's the threat is that Emmy was a really star fragger. You have a star fragger. Be beyond
Yeah.
potentially even better than what Emmy was, right?
Yeah.
Dai was a really good AWPer. You have a star AWPer in
Yeah.
Kaude. Okay, fine. Yuli was a really good support player and a very good fragger towards the end of her tenure there.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten that out of Mads yet, so that's why I'm like more time. 100% that roster needs more time, but that's the point of contention right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I guess a little tangent there. Yeah,
All right.
I can understand. No, I can understand. And I mean, the Brazilian scene is big enough. Looking at that, where Furia can say, "Hey, we're gonna make a change, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
something for the better." I don't know the scene well enough to look at that and go, "Oh, this should be this player." I don't know the
Yeah,
fit,
I don't know who would replace her, but I think you got to look at that lineup and start thinking about tinkering it.
and you see, it's like there's always a piece like missing. Like it seemed like
Mhm.
there's something missing on the end there. Um, it sounds like Liquid Syndrome, where on the day, like only a few of the players show up, and
Right.
they're always the bride to the ball. They're never the
I like
group.
that.
They're never the guy who's getting the award. They're always second place, sitting there watching, and it's a tough Nigma squad they're playing up against. Like we said, that 2-0 scoreline does not indicate how close of a match Ancient was, and I mean.
Right.
They didn't do well on Mirage, which was their pick. That's the unfortunate bit.
Which I would have expected them to do better on the Mirage than the Ancient.
Yes.
So
So that's one thing that you kind of wish had gone better. I mean, was it a case of yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Gabby was really good.
yeah,
Ka didn't really yeah, Ka struggled on Mirage, I think was one of the
yeah.
things that did them in. That's something that happens with all your teams though. Like if Elige doesn't play well, then all of a sudden Liquid do struggle a bit. It
As we saw this
as
past
we
weekend as
see
well.
all the time.
So
Like
well, not all the time, but just as we saw this
well,
past weekend. Like
sorry,
that's literally what happened this past
a
weekend.
player on Liquid struggles and
Yeah,
the
I
team doesn't
and that's
perform.
why I'm thinking like if you want to beat Nigma, like you have to start thinking about the change. Like this is
Yeah.
a very good team. They could win everything in Brazil. They probably will with this lineup.
Yeah.
Like 100% and consistently be the number 2 team in the world. We can get Nigma versus Furia
Every
all of
finals.
2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you want to beat Nigma, you have to start thinking about it. I think. But
Okay.
the only other team I would make a change with is EG. I think EG needs to really overhaul some stuff. I think I don't. I think. I mean, you got to keep Milk. I think you keep Milk. Um,
That's a
but
huge conversation that I don't think we actually have time for.
we don't.
Just the entire
But
over. Let's leave
all I'm
that for
saying
another
is,
day.
I'm not going to put out names, but I'm just saying with EG, I would look at this lineup and make 2 changes and see if you improve, and then go from there.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to make 2 changes. So
Fair play.
I could give you one person you
No,
definitely should drop.
we're
I'm
not
not
doing
going to
this
do
yet.
that,
We're not doing this
but
yet. We've already
no,
discussed too many roster changes
that's
with
fine.
this
Yeah,
episode. All
but
right. That's so yeah, we get to the end of the ESL Impact event then. So Furia Enigma was the final. It went the way it
yep.
went. Enigma's the winner. They've done all that.
Parks, don't be so afraid, man. We can run a little over an
I
hour. It's fine.
I have something to cast, my friend. I have 20
Oh,
minutes to get
okay.
ready to cast here.
Okay, fair enough.
I would do a longer episode if I had a chance. I do not have
Okay,
time.
that's fair enough. That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Um, what are you watching?
Uh, well, there's one major tournament left this year for the women's scene, and it's in Brazil. It's Masters Feminina. Masters Feminina 6 is this weekend, so I am definitely looking forward to that. I think Fury are gonna win it. I think they got something. I think they're gonna, especially they're gonna come out with something to prove.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's the big tournament to watch this weekend. And then I think we're pretty much, aside from the ECA leagues,
the Cash Cup
we're
stuff
pretty
as
much
well.
done for the
Yeah.
yeah. We got 3 more weekends of that, but I'm not really paying too much attention because I don't have a computer, so I don't have a computer that can cast right now. So it's like I'll watch them, but that's about it really. What about you? What are you watching?
Oh, what am I watching? I'm watching all the Cash Cups, Benny. I I'm
The
severely
box
sad.
just won.
I know. I was
Won as
severely sad I
well.
didn't get
So
to cast that because there was some Anubis. There was
yeah,
some Anubis, and
and that wasn't even their pick, and I think they won like 16-7 or 16-8
I
or
don't
something.
know. Credit to the players, I will say. Mirabella and Senna were the main two. Mirabella is on Saints. She streamed her POV for those matches,
Yes, yes,
and
I watched Shannon. Yeah.
Senna streamed her POV. I am happy that they are able to do that, and they can do
Yes.
that. I mean, I think Reef
Yeah.
streamed her POV for her team, but it was one best of one for them, which
Yeah.
again we managed to get 6 teams, and a bunch of them were pugs
On a weekend where teams were away at land, like
and
that's pretty good.
Thanksgiving, which is
Yeah,
huge.
that's true.
So yeah, getting 6 teams was crazy. The other thing that was crazy about that was Kung Fury came back because Bez is not on Please Send Box as of right now. As of this
Mhm.
recording, Bez Daria is not on that team anymore, and so they came back in. Lisa was on Box instead of
We can't talk
Singles.
about roster changes.
We
We can't
can't
talk
talk
about
about
roster
roster
changes.
changes, but we can talk about this because
Yeah,
I was
no, that's
watching
good.
it, Benny. I can
Uh,
talk about this.
uh,
So that
Bucks
was
look good though.
they looked
They,
good.
you know.
And listen, more roster changes are coming. We know
Oh yeah.
that it's gonna happen. It's the
Oh
off
yeah.
season, so it's good to see that it's already kind of starting to happen, and we're gonna get these slow shifting because cash cups. This is what they're for. You're gonna get tournament play with new look rosters, and that's kind of why I'm excited to watch other tournaments, other cash cups throughout the regions. Like I follow the South Africa ones because those are always interesting. I want to see kind of what's
I think
happening with.
Vibin won that one.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
ATK was gone, and Vibin is the second best team in that area, aside from
There you
White
go.
Rabbit Amorales. I follow these
Yeah.
teams. It's crazy. Um,
Welcome, Parks.
yeah, yeah,
Welcome to
yeah.
the world stage, my
No,
friend.
I have 2 regions. I have 2 regions. I can't do any more.
It's fine.
I'll swap them out eventually. Um, no, it's cash cups and league play. Um, the one thing that I'm still kind of upset about is EG Gold's matches don't get casted, and I
Yeah.
have yet to reach out to them on that, but I think I will be reaching out to them on that because their social media for their teams is kind of lackluster, and
Yeah,
that kind of
very.
speaks to the entire ethos of what we saw was just
It's
lackluster.
yeah. It's the zeitgeist that's going on in EG right now. It's that but unfortunately, right?
Yeah,
Through all the teams as well.
it's like
It's not limited to the women's team.
please show up
Yeah.
and be there.
Please send help.
Please send help. Please send help. That we'll make that the title. Please send help.
Yeah, please send help. Yeah.
All right.
So,
That's everything this time around. 10 minutes over an hour. So we're gonna go. I've got an event. I got something to cast here. So we're gonna get out of here. Shout out to our men's national teams for playing in the World Cup. I know Benny's been wearing his jersey on the Voyager.
this is my Korea jersey too. I don't have a US one.
Yeah.
So, and Korea lost today. So
Oh
it's
my
like, all right,
goodness.
well,
I mean, Canada's already out of the tournament, so what can I say?
that's true. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for being here, though. Have a great day, night, weekend, whatever. And we'll be back in a few weeks with something special, hopefully.
Yes.
Bye for now.